Who's a better coach, Kyle Shanahan or Jim Harbaugh? Because I do think this version of Jim Harbaugh is a lot different than the one the Niners had.
I know.
Damn good. This guy's better now.
I was talking to Kawakami about this a few weeks ago. There's a lot of similarities.
I take Jim. I think I'd take Jim.
I mean, he's won a championship at the NFL level, at the college level. He's kind of had a similar NFL career to Kyle. The one knock would be he needs Greg Roman to run his offense, and Greg may have a ceiling on him, right?
But he won a national championship with a dude in Michigan.
I know. The winning a Super Bowl, though, like, can he get further than Kyle? They play the same. Like, it's not like, Jim's thing, what Jim holds over a lot of other coaches, his teams are going to be more physical. They're going to be more committed to the run. Well, Kyle does that, right? Here's the thing I would say. Now, Jim didn't have, like, his guy inserted as GM. I think I'd rather have Kyle. I would rather have Kyle. Because Jim, I think Jim's a little... Kyle's crazy. I think coach crazy. I think Jim's a little wild, like a little crazier, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I would take Kyle.
I think one thing that Jim does that's fundamentally different than Kyle, and that I think translates over the course of time, and this is where the Niners have gotten into trouble this year, is he never, and listen, I'm not writing Ricky Pearsall off. Like, it's unfair to even judge him this year. The guy fucking could have died on Market Street. Jim Harbaugh, not in a million years, would have taken a wide receiver with that pick.
Yeah.
He just, and fundamental, and listen, and in fairness to Kyle, and I appreciate, and Forrester has reiterated that, who's like, in a weird way, Forrester doesn't get talked about by being one of these close Shanahan cronies, and he is. He basically said, we don't believe in, obviously Trent's an outlier, like skill guys over offensive linemen. And that's just, Jim Harbaugh would eat a dog poop sandwich before he agreed.
I mean, he did take Ladd McConkey like 3 picks later.
Yeah, but the difference is he could have taken sweeter wide receivers at 5, and not in a million years was he going to pass on Joe Alt. And I think the 49ers there's no guarantee they take Joe Alt. And I think
they do.
But Kyle's proven that he's inclined to take these skill guys. Because what if he goes, we'll take Neighbors here or whoever their guy is, Brock Bowers maybe, and then take our offensive lineman. Like, I just think fundamentally they've proven that.
Quick interruption to tell you about PrizePicks code GUY. Sign up with code GUY, make a $5 lineup, and whether you win or lose that lineup, you get $50 immediately into your account. And you can use some of that money for something like this. Right now, you get 99% off on Patrick Mahomes. So here's a lineup I just made for this week. $10 will pay 85. Mahomes is half a yard. This is not a typo. Mahomes is half a yard against Cleveland. So you take more than half a yard Mahomes. I'm also going big passing game. Thursday night football could be a little wet. Okay. Thursday nights can be a little weird. So I'm going against the grain here. I'm going more than 274.5 passing yards for Brock Purdy. He had almost 300 against the Rams last time. And I'm going more than 274.5 passing yards for Matthew Stafford against the Niners. This will make Thursday night even more interesting. Code GUY, PrizePicks. Get Mahomes 98% off. Get after it. Appreciate y'all. Back to the clip. I would say Kyle only takes offensive linemen if they are going to be Trent Williams high. You know what I mean? Like, he's not taking – I think that's the only time. I think that's where he would take an offensive lineman, is if it's a blue chipper. Otherwise, Kyle's like, just give me some 3rd rounder, some 5th rounder. Like, the 2nd round is not where Kyle loves tackles who need development, right?
Well,
but he would do it in the top 5, I think.
But why not just like he does with running backs and wide, just take multiple? Just take a tackle in the 2nd, take one in the 4th, and let the cream rise.
Yeah. I just think fundamentally he sees offensive linemen as you're either the top of the food chain, blue chipper, or I will treat you like I treat running backs. You're interchangeable.
But I'm not just talking tackles. I think one thing we've seen with the Eagles.
He should have taken the center. Zach Frazier is who he should have taken instead of Pearsall.
When you look at well, exactly, but he never would, not in a million years.
I think that, yeah.
And again, like, we can argue, time will have to tell how good Pearsall is. He just, something looks, again, I can't judge him, but on the one that Purdy he was supposed to keep running and he kind of cut it in, it's like, I'm not going to destroy, but he just, it's just, I don't know. I'm watching some of these other guys, they just pop a little more. And like, the Eagles are a good example. Their star wide receiver, who I'd put A.J. Brown as a top 5 wide receiver. And I guess Saquon's on their team right now, but clearly one of the best players in the NFL. Can't stand their quarterback. And
Luckily, their coach can have good sit-down conversations with their quarterback, John, as long as a third person's in the room.
I wonder once Brandon Graham, tears his tricep, you just kind of get out of the super locked in mode. So you're going to Chickies and Pete's.
When it says the Brandon Graham show, what does that mean exactly? Do you understand? Is he just like joins for an hour and they call it the Brandon Graham show? Is that what's happening there?
Yeah, I think when I was there, it was the Andy Reid show. I just think they give him a prominent. They're not going to send Sirianni. The coordinators are working. Brandon Graham, I saw no one ever in Eagle history has been on the team. He was there my first year in 2010. He was drafted. Like, he's been there 15 fucking years.
Oh,
I wonder, he's out for the season for the last couple of weeks. Still a part of it, like travels and stuff. But now he goes to Chickies and Pete's, like, maybe he brings his wife and like, let's get there early, have a couple cocktails, right? He's just kind of loose. It's just a different mindset because he had already said before the season, I'm retiring. So now he's just like, it's over now. And he's just like,
setting up his next career.
1-11. They remember they used to be buddies. Part of the reason we traded for him. Now they fucking can't stand each other. And I can't imagine his phone. And then he comes out with like, I misspoke. No, I mean, it's just, I don't know the details of it all, but my ultimate point is the Eagles clearly have, they are like a reality television show, but where they make up for it relative to the Niners. They are so much more talented on the offensive line. Like, their quarterback isn't that good. He's a good runner and he's a good playmaker thrower on the run, but he can't throw from in the pocket. But it doesn't matter. They have a running back who's about to go for, 2,300 yards.
He already set the Eagles rushing record. He already passed Shady McCoy.
Obviously they drafted Lane High. Their 7th round Australian guy is a star. All their interior guys are 2nd and 3rd round picks, and then they get Mekhi Becton, who was a top 10 pick, and they just move him to guard. Their scheme's a little different, but like, would the Niners have fucked with Mekhi Becton? Like,
No.
They just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, and listen, Howie's on the extreme end of like talent. The guy's a freak. I mean, he's like the biggest dude he's huge. They just moved him to guard, and he just road grades people. Now he's like, give me Banks, Batonio and Feliciano and Burford. It's like, oh my God, these guys.
Where's Batonio?
And Purdy's like doing 360s, running for his life.
I know.
It's like, this is not going to work, guys.
I would say, like, for all the criticisms, Kyle's gotten a lot of, criticism from all angles this year. If there's anything I would love for him to reevaluate, it's the capital that he spends on his offensive linemen. And he's going to have to at some point soon, because Trent's career is coming to a close.
I mean, he can't even walk right now on top of what he's dealing with off the field. I mean, someone DM'd me like, hey, Bosa and Trent are coming back. This was last week. And I was like, why? They have like legitimate. I think Trent's been on like a scooter, and Bosa's both hips are fucked. Like, these guys are legitimately
he should stay out
injured
for the year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, and Trent's 36 years old. And Bosa, I'm sorry, like, you got to worry about the next 5 years with him. But like, go back to Kinlaw. That obviously blew up in their face, but it's like, hey, you went all in on this freak show defensive lineman. No one will ever have a problem swinging with linemen. I would say offensive or defensive. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But when you do it high, I think people understand. When you do it with the skill guys and then they don't work, it's like, did you have to do that? No, but also when it works, you get extra credit. It's like, God, they got Justin Jefferson, 22, and they needed a tackle.
The thing at offensive line too is, like, you can live with Mike McGlinchey for 4 years, right? Because he doesn't need the ball. How do you need to get for Ricky Pearsall to have any impact? You need to get him the ball more than twice a game, and he's not even getting that right now.
Yeah, and listen, McGlinchey I wouldn't want him as my starting right tackle, but he was a 5-year starter on the 49ers, and now he starts on a good Bronco team. Like, he's a legitimate NFL starter who's going to have a 10-year career at right tackle. Pearsall, if you had to pick $1,000, like, does Pearsall get a second contract with the 49ers?
Or some other team overpay him when he's a free agent? Like,
I'm just saying, like, do the Niners extend Ricky Pearsall? Just that simple. You would, as of right now, it would be a bold move to say they extend him.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they've had a couple guys in the past. They always have a safety. It's like, oh, Kwaski Tart's just still on this team. Like, I kept thinking they were going to replace Kwaski Tart. He never got replaced. But it's different at receiver because it's just Kyle will just draft some other guy or sign some other guy or plug in some other guy.